You want to hear content about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Philadelphia 76ers. That's straight to the point, no nonsense, no over-the-top shenanigans. Say what we got to say and keep it moving. Then you made the right choice coming to Nikki Steve's channel, so stay tuned. I said I was going to talk about the Sixers after the midway point of their season when they reached the All-Star break, and now I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. I'm going to talk about the Sixers and how they've been doing mid-season. So in the last week, we had the final 3 games on Saturday. We had an embarrassing loss to the Cavs in overtime. Then we bounced back by destroying the Indiana Pacers on Monday. You had Tyrese Maxey had a good game. You had our bench players actually stepped up and played phenomenally, which I wish we got more of out of our bench players. But I'll talk more about the bench in this video. And then last night, how about that game against the Utah Jazz? Joel Embiid made that 3 to save the game late in regulation. We took it away in overtime. 131-123. We beat the Utah Jazz last night. And we poured it on in overtime, man. So far throughout the season, we got the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which is something we haven't done in a long time. But we still have the Brooklyn Nets are in the race with us. We still got the New York Knicks. Imagine that. New York Knicks in the top 4. But let's stay on subject. But we got the Nets in our division we're worried about. But yeah, it's nice to see the Sixers have the number 1 seed for once. Now, to be fair, some of our games, especially early on, were games that, we were favored to win, that were considered soft games on the schedule. But hey, we still won those games. And we have won some big games too. We won the game against the Lakers in January. Remember that game? And we beat the Utah Jazz last night, and we hung in there the entire time. Even though we were losing most of the game, until we took the game over in overtime, we were actually playing good. We still played good despite trailing. We still stayed in it to the point we were able to get the win. So we've had some good wins, but we've also had some ugly games. Remember the overtime loss to the Cavs? We had a loss to the Pistons on the road, which is a bad one. So in terms of the games, we've had some good and some bad. But then against the NBA regular season, this is to be expected in the regular season. Because regular season, most instances, you're going to have some games where teams lose games they should win. And they're going to have certain instances where teams find a way to pull out wins in games they should have lost. It's going to happen in any sport, particularly the NBA regular season. And it's very rare that you get a team that truly, dominates and builds momentum like the 2015-2016 Warriors. But there's going to be games, even the number 1 seeds or number 2 seeds might have some down games too. So that's natural in the regular season. So I'm not making too big a deal out of that. However, when it comes to the way they played, obviously Joel Embiid's the guy that's carried this team. He's really stepped up this year. He's taken that next step that was necessary to say, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the guy that's going to carry this team. That's me. And Joel Embiid has done that. At least 4 games with over 40 points. And you see, he gives it his all every single game he's on the court. He has missed a few games. But then again, in a long regular season, in any sport, players are going to miss certain games. But Joel Embiid's definitely made a strong case for MVP. He's definitely made a case for being the best center in the NBA. And this year, Joel Embiid has really taken that next step to being the guy that even some of the critics are now starting to believe in him. Even some people that at first they respected Embiid as a player the past couple of years. They liked him as a player, but they weren't sure if he was that guy. Now some of them are starting to get sold on. I know both Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed are now sold on Embiid, particularly being the MVP of this season. So Embiid's definitely done that. He's taken that next step to prove the doubters that weren't sure if he was there or wrong. And that's good. You got that. Of course, Tobias Harris, a.k.a. Busy Bias, as we call him. Shout out to Philly Mike for the nickname. But Busy Bias, Tobias Harris has played good. I thought he was snubbed from the All-Star game. Ben Simmons is a guy, it's kind of disappointing. Sometimes you'll get some really good out of him. You get good defense. But the one thing that Ben Simmons, he hasn't been a consistent good scorer, though. Especially... he's good on defense, which I'm glad that he does that. I'm glad that Ben Simmons is good on defense. But the one thing I've been disappointed with is he's not been the best scorer consistently. He's had his good games, but he's also had his inconsistencies, which makes me have my concerns that he'll fall off at certain points in the second half of the season or in the playoffs. So I do have some concerns there about Ben Simmons. do have concerns about him being consistent, of course. I know, my apologies for that. I had to pause the video for something, or pause the recording, but back to it. So Ben Simmons, I was so saying I'm concerned that he's not going to stay consistent enough in all aspects of his game going late season into the playoffs. So that's something I do have a concern with. You got guys, who else? What did I mention? Of course, you got Dwight Howard as a bench guy. He's a veteran. He's definitely good in the bench role. He's had his good moments. Remember last night he made the block on Tyrese Maxey, which helped set up the tie in the fourth quarter. And then you also had that monster dunk he made against the Mavericks last week. You remember that dunk? You had that from Dwight Howard. And Dwight Howard's definitely still a good rebound guy. He's definitely good on the bench, is a good bench guy playing defense. Now, my concern with Dwight Howard is thinking, past this season, because it's been a long time since Dwight Howard's been in the same locker room 2 straight years. So I do have some concerns that he's only going to be around for 1 season, that he may either retire or go to another team for next year. Well, more on that once the season ends, whatever happens then. But Dwight Howard, he's been a good bench guy for us this year, so that's the upside of it. Definitely that would be helpful late regular season into the playoffs if Dwight Howard can keep that up. Well, certainly hopes he does. Danny Green's still a solid bench guy when he's on. You hope Danny Green's on, he can still produce as part of your bench. As far as, you also got Mike Scott, which Mike Scott's not a guy you want to keep around. What has Mike Scott done to really make you think that he's a guy you should keep on the team? Nothing comes to mind. Mike Scott's definitely a guy you can move on from. Maybe possibly do a trade to get another bench guy. Then you got Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey's a guy. We can definitely hope we can keep. What am I looking to say? Stuttering all over the place. But Tyrese Maxey's a guy I definitely want to keep long term. He's a guy that has potential to be a star on this team and be with this team for a good while now, for years to come. And I hope that's the case with Tyrese Maxey. And then, of course, you got Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe is a guy that he's obviously got sent to the G League recently. Doc Rivers made that decision, which I agree that's the right decision for Doc Rivers to make. Give Isaiah Joe some more time, play in the G League, develop, work on his skills, and bring his game up before being brought back to the Sixers. So I do agree with that decision right there. But the one thing I have, 2 things are the biggest concern for me going forward with the Sixers team. The second half of the season are playing on the road, which I made a video about the Sixers road jinx a few weeks ago. Check that video out. Click the icon top right-hand corner. So that's one thing that concerns me. Obviously, they struggled on the road. They've had some embarrassing losses, such as the loss to the Pistons. They had some embarrassing losses on that West Coast trip a few weeks ago. And obviously, that's a concern right there, their ability to play on the road. Another concern is the bench. Now, there have been some games, some of the bench guys have stepped up and played good. There have been some games where both the bench and the starters were good, like the past 2 games. Take last night's game against the Utah Jazz, that an awesome overtime win, and that game Monday against the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, the bench and the starters look good on that one. So I'm definitely proud of the bench for stepping up there. But there have been some games when the starters aren't there that the bench hasn't stepped up, and the bench played embarrassingly. So I do have my concerns about the bench's ability to step up, especially when Joel Embiid is absent. Because the Sixers are 1-5 in the 6 games Joel Embiid missed. So there are obviously concerns about the bench. Now, I know some people have suggested the Sixers trade for Kyle Lowry or Zach LaVine. I'm not feeling too much on those ones. Kyle Lowry, maybe if it's the right package. I'll talk about that. If we get closer to the trade deadline, it's still in consideration. I'll talk about it then. But I think if you're the Sixers, if you can make the right trade, get some bench guys, a guy like George Hill from the Oklahoma City Thunder, a guy like Delon Wright from the Detroit Pistons, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Those are some guys you could bring in as some bench guys to help on the bench. But as far as starters go, I don't really think we need to trade necessarily for a Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine sounds like a great player to have. Sounds like a great idea. Or a guy like Kyle Lowry, that also sounds like a great idea. I mean, that could still work. Kyle Lowry. But Zach LaVine, the Sixers don't need someone like a Zach LaVine. Even though that sounds great on paper. Like I said, name some bench guys. George Hill or Delon Wright. Those guys. Like the fact that we're in first place. It's a relief to actually see the Sixers in first place in the Eastern Conference at the All-Star break for a change. That's a relief. I'm happy that Joel Embiid has stepped up and taken that next step toward being an MVP, has taken staying in shape seriously. That's really helped his game. I mean, he was already a star before that, but once Doc Rivers encouraged him to get in shape and he really stepped up, that's made a big difference. A big difference for a guy that was already a star as it is. So that's a good thing. Yeah, Tobias Harris has helped us out. That's a good thing. We got a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who has a lot of upside for the future. And we also have a solid bench for once. I didn't mention Seth Curry yet either. I mean, Seth Curry's been a solid bench guy. He's been playing solid this year. I don't know if he's going to last long term, but I hope he can be with the Sixers for a few more years, and he keeps playing solid as a bench guy. So at least we do have a solid bench, but it still bears weaknesses as a team, because when they have to step up when Embiid's absent, they're 1-5 as a team. So I do think we need some help from the bench. While we do have a solid bench, we still need to get a little bit better there. Definitely have better coach with Doc Rivers than we had with Brett Brown. So you see instantly bringing in Doc Rivers has helped make this team better as a team. So that's a good thing. Like I said, we got our main star Joel Embiid has stepped up. We got Tobias Harris in the mix. We're definitely playing better with a new coach, new system. We have a better bench than years past. But, oh, man, we need a little bit of help on the bench still. And we definitely need some help on the road, man, especially as we get to the playoffs. We need to get better as a team playing on the road. I mean, what else can I say? So I like what I'm seeing from the Sixers this year compared to where they were the past couple years during the All-Star break. But I still think we obviously have some things to work on, like I illustrated throughout the video. So I don't want to ramble on too long about this. To everyone watch, thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and the notification bell. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section. Let me know what you agreed with, disagreed with. And most of all, everyone watching, have a wonderful night. Nicky Steve signing off, and I'll see you next time. You like that straight to the point mentality? No nonsense, no shenanigans? Hit that subscribe button, because that's what we do on this channel every video. Straight to the point, no shenanigans, no nonsense. If that's what you want, then you better hit that subscribe button.